Hey guys, my name is Moon and welcome back for more Witch on the Holy Night. So last time we started the third episode and we saw Alco and Alice go on, I guess, their nighttime mission, I guess, right? And we had some nice conversation again between the two of them while eating dinner. So let us continue and let's see what happens today.
木曜棚の当時欄、緑の背拍子と。
Without hesitating, she removed one book from the countless volumes on the shelf. The introductory textbooks transported here from the Aozaki residence were separated into 6 shelves labeled Monday to Saturday. Alco had organized the books by topic, genre, and purpose and had more or less memorized exactly what was in her personal library. Referencing any of this material took her no time at all, as was befitting the role of the keeper of the study. Though this keeper's fiefdom was nothing more than a small room. Both Alco and Alice had given up all hope on the cluttered mess of a library in the annex. Nevertheless, on occasion, Alco would have no option other than give to Alice a heads up and visit it when the study did not meet her needs.
できればそれは避けたいところだけど、と。
Alco placed the thick green book down and took a seat. The desk she sat at was sturdy but uninviting. Look how messy it is. A lot of globes, a lot of books, and I think there's some food there as well on the table. It wasn't the sort of furniture girls her age grew attached to, but she liked its minimalist elegance nonetheless. She flipped lightly through the book's old worn pages.
アリスみたいな結界は私にはまだ無理だ。人払いはその場所自体に頼らないといけないか。
The mountains, the woods, the school building empty at night. She was looking for a place that would be except for the worst of luck, void of people allowing her to forgo the use of magecraft.
茨の壁だの魔力の霧だの、そういう回りくどいのもなんだしな。退路を断つっていうなら、もっとこう見た目にも状況的にも派手な方が効果的だし。
Muttering about how there had to be some basic spell that fit her needs, she continued to flip through the pages. It goes without saying that she was looking for a way to deal with the witness from the previous night. Magecraft's uses were many, but not all encompassing. Fundamentally, magecraft was good for making things or phenomena that existed already, while more or less bypassing the time and resources conventional means would require. It was, however, unable to manifest phenomena that were impossible in this world. It was essentially an equivalent exchange that used a variety of shortcuts. A phenomena made possible by human hands, actualized by an individual's power, that was generally what magecraft was. To give a simple example, if Alco were so inclined, she could make an entire lake appear at the mansion. Okay. However, it had to be something that existed within this world. Nothing, not even the smallest matter, could escape this unbreakable law. Even if Alco were to release a level of heat on par with an F-15 fighter's jet afterburner, that event would only be possible if the circuit named Alco Aozaki acted as a temporary input variable in a magic formula. I need to understand it fully, right? How this magic works. The derived equivalence was simply a value that already occurred in reality. If the variable in the equation did not exist elsewhere in reality, the spell would not be valid. The imaginary element known as magical energy was like a lie that could only slip its fantasy through the network of order at the moment of ignition. Giving form to the non-existent illusions invading reality was something the universe did not allow.
とは言ってもエーテルは基本何にでもできるんで大元が嘘なんだっけ。魔力だけで構成されたものは幻想扱いされて急速に消えていくとか、典型的な結界茨の壁とかはもともと茨を生やしておいて魔力で一気に成長強化してるものだし、魔力っていうのは結局使い勝手のいいガソリン兼事象に火をつける火花ってわけで、なんて言いつつ架空要素云々より基本的な回路の接続と魔力を加工して弾くことぐらいしかできないのよね、私。
Laughing to herself, she looked for a bounded field or something similar, more suited to her current ability. The identity of the witness was still unknown, but if they were a classmate of Aoko's, she had any number of pretexts by which to lure them out. The problem was after that,
そうなると問題は命中率よね。一撃で決めないと逃げられちゃうだろうし。
to be honest, she wasn't confident she could handle this smoothly without Alice's support. But Aoko saw no reason to ask for help, given that the target in question was a regular bystander. Fledgling as she was, she still had her pride as a mage. She continued to turn through the page rhythmically. In the midst of the fluttering sound of thumbing through the volume, Aoko suddenly stopped her finger at a certain page.
見つけた。
She smiled to herself. It was a simple magic formula that she had tucked away somewhere in the recesses of her memory. A spell of simple destruction.
檻をね、作ればいいのよ。狩りをする時の常套手段じゃない。獲物を逃げられないようにするのは。
What was the spell Rin would use in Fate? Like shooting the enemy? Wait, but with her finger, right? With magic. I forgot what's it called. She placed a bookmark in the book, closed it, and got up to return to her room. Suddenly, she felt someone watching her. Through the window, she saw her in the night, a girl staring back with a cold-hearted expression. The girl's face was hers, the expression undoubtedly her own. She began planning how to erase the witness. True, although to say it was something as elaborate as a plan was overkill, this was just a job. She was going to make a cage and then lure her prey into it. There was no getting around it, premeditated violence.
さ、そろそろアリスは上がったかな。
Spoken in the hope of a bath would return some warmth to her chilled heart. About 20 minutes had passed since she gave Alice the privilege of the first of the hot water. Alice tended to bathe quickly, finishing well under 10 minutes. Her roommate was a type that could not understand the spirit of the bath, treating it as nothing more than a necessity for looking after one's body. For Alice, the concept of staying at a hot spring inn sounded more like a chore than anything, though in this regard, Aoko had to agree.
よし、浴場はカラッと。あれ、今に電気ついてる？
It was unusual for Alice to sit in the drawing room after her bath. On nights when she had nothing to discuss, it was her style to return directly to her bedroom.
アリス、いるの？
Alice nodded. With no book in hand, it appeared that Alice had been waiting for Aoko.
そういうこと。私も信用ないな、ほんと。
Aoko scratched her head in exasperation. Was it that Alice was worried about her or had no faith in her? Her expression was so calm, Aoko could hardly figure what she was thinking.
方針なら決まったけど、聞く？
その顔を見れば聞かなくてもわかるわ。迷いがなくなったのはいいことだけど、悪い癖ね、青子。
Alice let out a small sigh. It was unusual for Alice to make such a display of her disappointment.
ええ、騙し討ちは趣味じゃないから。殺すにしても正々堂々、正面から理由を言った後にする。それならすっぱり後腐れもないし、文句ある？
文句はないわ。そういうの好きか嫌いかはこの際関係ないでしょうし。けど
確実性はどうかってことでしょ。私いまいち命中率悪いし、その辺の問題は場所選びでフォローしようかなと。私はアリスのようにはいかないから、物理的に逃げられない場所にしようと思うんだけど、何かアイディアない？
Alice nodded in thought. The finger that gently rested on her lips indicated that the question was to her liking.
鏡はどう？鏡の国なら永遠に閉じ込めていられるけど。
あんた、そういうところ常識ないわよね。
She frowned at Alice's bad taste. It was the kind of idea her roommates found to be inspired, but Aoko knew was out of the question. Aoko was looking for a natural bounded field that she could prepare, not a realm bordering on true magic that she couldn't create to begin with.
なら他を当たるのね。でもここを使うのだけはやめてちょうだい。
言われなくても分かってるって。けどそうね。ミラーハウスはいいアイディアかも。
Aoko smirked and shifted her balance away from the wall she was resting on.
サンキュー、アリス。全体の流れは出来上がったわ。ほんと、こういうのってダメ元でも相談してみるものよね。
Now, in a good mood, Aoko retreated from the drawing room. Alice tried and failed to visualize what kind of blueprint Aoko had drawn up in her mind, but whatever it was, it appeared to be the thorough kind of Aoko was good at. Aoko headed for the back room, humming to herself as she went. A year and a half of sharing a living space had taught Alice something. When Aoko Ozaki was in this good of a mood, only deep trouble could follow.
え？青子一人に任せていいのかですって？
It was unclear how long the bird had been in the drawing room. Chirping at Alice, the robin-like pranced across the furniture as if it were its property.
そうね。彼女が一人でやると言ったのだから任せるのが正しい信頼関係なんでしょうけど。
The girl in the black raised her arm. The bird, chirping once again, alighted on her outstretched, affectionate finger.
嫌な話だけど、信頼と信用はまた違う話よね。
Trust and fate are two very different things. The bird puffed out its stout chest in agreement. And Aoko was none the wiser to her roommate's rather unsettling comments. So, where are we going next? Are we gonna be seeing our friend, our boy Sojiro? The following day was a typically overcast one. The day's classes ended as they had started, uneventfully. Winter break was just around the corner, and with it, final exams. What is that? No, that you see that? Is that like a cage? Is that like a gate, I guess? Although Misaki High prided itself on discipline, it was still a private school and as such promoted a culture of independence among its students. Industrious students had a place to explore that side of themselves under the guardianship of the student council president. More easygoing students could spend their time after school as they wished, as long as they were mindful of personal responsibility. The fact that the poster boy of independence was the student council vice president indicated just how vast the spectrum was.
青崎、いるか?
Tobimaru Tsukiji threw open the door to the satellite student council room, the rumored location for their secret meetings. Despite all appearances, he was the student council vice president who also happened to be the poor soul responsible for executing the student council's dirty work. I like how Aoka's face always like that. I really just find it funny. One person was waiting for him in the cramped room. The student council president, Aoko Aozaki, sat imperiously in a folding chair glaring at Tobimaru and his boisterous entrance.
相変わらず寒いな、この部屋。なあ、今度ストーブ購入しようぜ。
So, as to not succumb to Aoko's oppressive silence, Tobimaru opened with some casual small talk.
お疲れ様。ところであんた、何しに来たのか分かってる？
まあな、ただ事務的に話すのって寒いじゃねえか。少しぐらい世間話でもしねえとつまらねえだろ。
Tobimaru closed the door and sat down across from Aoko. He was holding a blue envelope.
こういう時は無駄口は叩かない方がいいわよ。なんとなくプロっぽいでしょ。
なる。いや。
Tobimaru was halfway to agreeing with Aoko before he caught himself and began to shake his head. As much as Tobimaru enjoyed the lack of red tape in his new line of work, he was not ready to turn a full spy on his first day on the job.
それで、調べ終わったの？
ああ、ついさっき最後の聴取を済ませてきた。詳しいことはその封筒に入ってる。お前から渡された例のファイルもそん中。
He tossed the envelope onto the table.
そう。
Aoko picked it up and began to scan through the documents that were inside. She entered her own little world, not sparing the slightest bit of attention for Tobimaru. If ignoring other people were a skill, she would be a master at it.
なあ。
何？
一つ聞きたいんだけどよ。
だから何？
The room was filled with a chilling silence. Aoko continued reading without an ounce of emotion upon her face. Though Tobimaru kept up an air of indifference, his stare remained fixed intently on her.
青崎、そういうの作って楽しい？
楽しいわけないでしょ。こんなの作ったところで、あんまり使う機会なんてないんだから。
そうか、ならいい。
Whether or not he was convinced, Tobimaru stood up from his chair with a disappointed expression.
最後まで読めばわかるだろうが、あんまり確証は取れなかったぜ。というより、おとといあの辺りにいた生徒はいないって話になりそうだ。まあ断定はできないけどな。
No longer concerned over his task, Tobimaru headed toward the door, as if to say it was out of his hands.
そうだ。そういえば、一人だけ該当しなかったやつがいる。季節外れの転入生までは、青崎も調べきれなかったみてえじゃねえか。
Aoko raised her head ever so slightly. He was right. The recent transfer student was not included within the scope of her investigation.
そんなわけで、その字に関しては調べてないぜ。まあ、あいつならいつだろうと遅くまでバイトだろうが。いや、人殺しを見たなんてこと口走ってるようじゃ、家で悪い夢でも見てたのかもしれねえか。
Tobimaru cheerfully left the student council room. Simultaneously, Aoko felt her fingers go numb. And the documents she was holding spilled all over the table.
そんな、まさかね。
She broke out into a cold sweat and tried to tell herself that there must be some kind of mistake. However, the uncomfortable feeling in her gut would simply not go away, perhaps because her intuition was almost right at times like this.
バカらしい。
And yet she knew what she had to do. She would not have hesitated to kill Tobimaru if he had been the witness. I mean, really? Can she really do that? Or will she really do that? But if it was him, just considering the possibility caused her blood to run cold. Aoko put her forehead in her hands and began to brood. And then suddenly, let us talk choice. You will always be faced with a choice. A virtuous fool and a wicked sage, you cannot save both. You must pick one. That is the freedom granted to you. 2 years earlier, Aoko muttered the words offered by her grandfather that they should replace her elder sister as his successor and let out a sigh of lament.
すごくバカみたい。
Bakamitai. She laughed at her own intuition, but it was no joke. If only those words had never been said. Aoko locked up the student council room and left for the day. Calmly, as though nothing untoward had happened, she greeted the students as they passed her in the halls. She was almost shocked by how natural she seemed. There were still plenty of students at the school. The grounds were noisy with the chattering of students who had finished the day but had yet to head home. Others still had club activities. The gray sky looked ready to pour, but nobody seemed to pay it any mind. Amidst the clamor, Aoko hastened to the school gate. She passed by some students in animated conversation. They seemed to be talking about their after-school plans. Apparently, they were adamant about maximizing their free time. She could not figure how they could possibly be so irresponsibly focused on fun, but at the same time was in no mood to make fun of or feel envious of them. 2 short years prior, she had been just like them.
根は冷めてるのかな、私って。
She retied her scarf, this time more tightly to give off an air of solitude, but she was fooling no one. After all, what people feigned solitude are really masking is rejection.
そうよね。孤独っていうのはああいうのを言うもんでしょうし。
The area by the school gate was busier than usual. Okay, what is happening there? A group of boys appeared to be huddled behind it. Their transparent attempt to be discreet in terms of both location and loudness of voices did nothing to hide the fact that they were noisily arguing about a girl standing alone on the other side of the street. Oh, they're talking about Alice. I mean, if you see someone like this though, like wearing an outfit clad in black, right? But yeah, and she's pretty as well. Then of course people are gonna be like, oh, who is that? The girl was cloaked in a black cape. At first glance, it could have been mistaken for a normal attire, but those from the Misaki could tell that she wore the uniform of a prestigious girls' school. Said school had no connection to Misaki High in any way, shape, or form. The schools were miles apart, both physically and spiritually. I have never seen a person like wear something like this in my life, I guess. A member of that school student body was a rare sighting, as the majority were forced to live in the school dorm. Who wore something like this? I mean, yeah, I watched like Fate Zero. What's her name again? Ilya. Not Ilya, Irisville, right? Yeah. But she's not wearing black though. She's wearing full white, I think, right? Rayan Girls Academy had a reputation as school for princesses, and it was rare indeed for one to be slumming. That word though, slumming with the common folk. That alone would have been enough to cause a ruckus amongst the boys, but this girl looked the epitome of class. One could not help but describe the standing figure as charming. The way she silently motionlessly waited was reminiscent of a meticulously composed portrait. Aoko took one look at her before instantly recalling that one word, solitude.
まったくうちの男子どもは家に帰りもせず陰でコソコソやってるのはそういうこと。
Disgusted, Aoko barged through the gate. At this point, she would normally head home, but today she crossed the street toward the waiting girl.
あれなるは生徒会長様？くそ、追っ払う気なのかよ。痛いんならいつまでだっていさせてあげればいいじゃんか。てか怒られる？怒られるのあの天使。よその生徒でも校門前にいるぐらいなら別に問題はないと思うけど。青子女子は容赦ねえからな。下手すると平手だぜ、平手。は
あ。
The boys ran their mouths behind her back. Not in the mood to shut them up, Aoko walked right up to the girl and informed or offered an informal wave.
どうしたのアリス？こんなところに来たって何も面白いことはないって言ったのに。
ありえねえ！
They're like shocked, like, oh, Miss President knows her. Aoko heard the boys by the gate lose their collective minds and did the best to ignore them.
あのことを確かめに。青子、あの人たち邪魔なんだけど。
These people are nuisance.
わかってる。今追っ払うから。
I mean, they're scared of her. They're gonna run away now. In contrast to Alice's small voice, Aoko spoke loud and clear. Naturally, this was on purpose so as to deal with the riffraff by the gate all at once.
会長こっち来んぞ。おい押すなよ。後ろのやつどけって。俺校舎に逃げるから。いやでもあの子会長と知り合いなんでしょ。うまく会長に紹介してもらうとか。さすが一年坊主、まだ戦場の現実ってもんを理解していねえ。よし、死の間際までいい夢見ろよ。
Perhaps because too many of them had gathered in one place, the mob entered a frenzied panic as they tried to escape. Aoko addressed them all.
さーて、部活動があるわけでもなし、ただ家に帰るだけの帰宅部の皆さん、こんなところで何を集まってるのか教えてくれる？
But yeah, I always do envy, like, I don't know, because yeah, for animes, whenever you watch animes that has like school themes or whatever like that, they always have these club activities, right? I always envy that because me myself in my school, we didn't have that. Once it's time to go home, it's time to go home. Yeah, we didn't have any of this kind of activities at all. You can go and do like, let's say, book club. say for sports like basketball club, nothing like that. So yeah, is there really actually like this in Japan though? Like a lot of schools have this, or is it just like maybe like the bigger or higher tier schools only? Like yeah, let's say private schools, etc. like that. The student council president stared at daggers at the boys.
何しろ試験前だもの。身になることなら私も教えてほしいけど、まさかガン首並べて女学院のお嬢様を眺めてただけなんてことはないわよね。声をかける勇気もなくて眺めてただけなんてことは。
Not one of them was brave enough to admit that this hit the nail on the head. If any of them had such courage, they would have already been chatting the young lady up.
いや、僕教室にちょっと忘れ物が。こんなオチならダメ元で玉砕しとくんだった。天文部に行って双眼鏡借りるのどうだ？屋上からお顔を賜るとか。天文部にそんなのねえよ。あるとしたら野鳥同好会じゃね？
それ先月会長が潰したじゃん。鳥めでてる暇があるなら彼女作れって。
ああ、彼女作れですか。くそ、じゃあな会長、また明日。
And with those oh so charming remarks, the boys scattered with their tails between their legs.
楽しそうね、青子。
あ、わかる？
Aoko's response slipped out all too easily. In truth, there were not that many bad apples at Misaki High, and dealing with them wasn't really that bad.
で、ここまで出向くってことは何か分かったの？
結界に残っていた気配の識別は、あとはここで確かめればいいだけよ。
そう。ん？アリス、いつからここに？
下校時刻から。
So she had been here for roughly an hour. Standing in the same place for an hour would be taxing for someone as sensitive sensitive to cold as Alice.
悪いわね、無理させて。
別に好きでやってることだから。
As she spoke, her black eyes were fixed upon the gate and the students passing through it. Yeah, so what is that? Okay, now we got a close-up on that. Yeah, that cage on the right side. You see that? Okay, I'm just like, oh, I've never seen something like that. She had likely been observing the gate in this manner for the past hour.
私を待ってたわけじゃないんでしょ？今からでも付き合うわ。
Alice nodded in an assent. Or maybe that is just like a cage so no one would fall down. Okay, let's stop this. I'm just too fascinated about that cage. Okay, if Alice was still here, it meant she had not found the witness yet. If she had found the student, Alice would have already gone home ahead of Aoko and begun to research the student's background.
私の方はダメだった。
She reported the results of Tobimaru's investigation. Alice remained silent. With that, the conversation ended, leaving the two to silently endure the freezing wind. The silent stakeout dragged on endlessly. Students continued to pass the gate, each shocked at the sight of the unusual combo, and head home. After 20 minutes, Aoko let a sigh to escape her mouth, perhaps from boredom, perhaps from the cold, or perhaps from both.
ねえ、アリス。帰り黎明に寄ってかない？
Do you want to drop by Dawn? What is Dawn? Shop? Oh, sorry. I accidentally clicked the other button. Dawn was the name of one of Aoko's favorite coffee shops. Offering no clear indication as to whether she was critical of Aoko's blasé attitude or agreeing to her whims, Alice's gaze shifted ever so slightly. Aoko followed her stare. Let me guess, it's gonna be our boy there.
あれ、
青崎も待ち合わせか？
Told you. The sudden voice took her off guard. There was only one person who spoke with his gentle, good-natured tone, and it's Sojiro.
そう。やっぱそうなるわけか。
Turning her back to Alice, Aoko moved her focus to the newly appeared student.
それで、今日は何の用？
I mean, it's too obvious, of course it is him. All politeness flew out the window. Already in a bad mood, Aoko's mood plummeted the longer she looked at Sojiro. The subtlety of her expression, however, was lost to him.
いや、これから駅前で水泳部の部長と待ち合わせなんだけど、そのことでお礼を言っておきたくて。
ん？
Well, that was completely unexpected. Thanks? Joining a club? Aoko had a hunch that he was about to say something brainless.
ふーん。お礼って、お礼参りってこと？
ん？
Fortunately, Sojiro was completely unaware of the more sinister implications to the word payback.
よくわからないけど、そんな大したことじゃないよ。ただ、水泳部は夏までそう忙しくないって話だったから。
Sojiro was just about to thank her for recommending a club that would not take up much of his time when Aoko cut him off with an expression of disinterest.
当然でしょ。幽霊部員になりそうな生徒なんて紹介できないから。忙しいあなたでも務まりそうな場所があったから口に出しただけよ。
なるほど、無駄がないね。
His open admiration for her sapped Aoko's will to fight. Finding a suitable club and negotiating with its captain hadn't been an efficient use of her time at all.
とにかくお世話になったから、それで礼を言っときたくて。
Sojiro gratefully dipped his head, but not before the flustered Aoko stopped him.
よしてよ。今あなたにそんなことされても迷惑だから。それで、水泳部はどう？やっていけそう？
Swimming club, man. Imagine that, having your own swimming pool in school. An awkwardness infiltrated her previously sharp gaze. Sojiro was able to pick up on the odd change in her behavior, but could not divine its reason. So he simply started with what he knew so far and reported the most recent information he had.
ああ、水泳部はクビになった。
Okay. He's gone already.
なんでよ
！Aoko instinctively shouted at the unexpected response, like a human jack-in-a-box. This unexpected development threw her mind in a tizzy and she momentarily forgot the complicated feelings she had been wrestling with.
だって今から待ち合わせだって。
それは、これからヤシロギの温水プールに連れて行ってくれるからだよ。
Sojiro stated that this very matter-of-factly to still the reeling Aoko.
話がつながらない。そこまでうまくいってるのに、どうして入部を拒否されるのよ、あんたは。
そりゃ、俺が泳げないからだろ。
So he joined that, but he can't swim.
はあ。
Look, she's shaking again. You can see her shadow there, her silhouette, I mean. Aoko reached upward with her fingers and pinched the bridge of her nose as she processed his answer.
しずきくん、昨日の私の質問は覚えてる？走るのか泳ぐのか、どっちがいいかってやつ。私の記憶は正しいけど、一応確認しておくわね。あなた、確かに泳ぐ方だって言ったけど。
ああ、昔から泳げないのは何とか克服したかったんだ。反対に走る方は得意だけど。
Her energy spent, Aoko finally understood.
俺が1年なら1から鍛えてくれたらしいんだけど、あと3ヶ月で3年になる身分なのに、金槌の部員は雇えないそうだ。けど部長が親身になってくれて、これから泳ぎを教えてくれることになったんだよ。
Sojiro's words were spoken from a place of joy, a fact that failed to reach Aoko.
はあ、つまり欠陥品を売りつけたってわけか。こりゃ水泳部の部長に合わす顔がないっと。ちょっと待った。しずきくん、水泳部の部長って。
She stopped herself short of a girl. She was afraid of how that might look, that she might not be able to rein herself in if she started.
もういいわ。気持ちは分かったから、どこか遠くにいてくれない？少し疲れてて、とてもじゃないけどあなたの相手はしていられないの。
飛び丸もそんなことを言ってたな。青崎は昨日と今日珍しく疲れてるって。何かあったのか？
ちょっとね。でもいいの。解決したみたいだから。それより、しずきくんはどう見える？私、そんなに疲れて見えるのかな？
Why had she asked him this? Blurting out things for no reason and on impulse, this was not usual for Aoko. Perhaps it was because she realized that this would be their last chance to have a normal conversation. After a few moments of contemplation, Sojiro conjured up a grin that cut straight through the tension.
そうだな。疲れているというより生き生きしているように見える。仕方なく畑を耕していた狼が久しぶりに狩りに出ることになって機嫌を上げている感じだ。
He seemed so cheerful, like he was so happy for her. Without thinking, Aoko's hands went to her cheeks. If what he said were true, then she was grinning from ear to ear. There was just no way she would have made such a mistake.
とにかくありがとう。じゃあ、また明日。
Perhaps still not comfortable enough to wave to her, he said his goodbye with sincerity in his voice and smile and took his leave.
待って。こんな話があるの。聞いてから言って。
Aoko called out after him. Her voice was cold as she admonished herself for having been somewhat affable earlier.
ん？
意味のない例え話よ。そうね。あなたが空腹で死にそうな時、目の前に同じように空腹で死にそうな2匹の動物がいるとするわ。しずきくんに銃をあげる。それでどちらかの動物を撃って。右はライオンで、左は子猫。選ぶのはあなたの自由だから。
It was a fable-like moral dilemma, especially the way in which it was cruel and rather preachy. The kind that if you thought too hard about, you would never find an answer. Sojiro answered quickly and calmly.
いや、撃たないと思うよ。だって自分の好きにしていいんだろ。それにほら、空腹ならお互い様だ。
He was not in the least fazed by the dilemma. He gave the most innocent response, so innocent in fact that it would give anyone pause.
長生きするわ、あなた。
すごいセリフだな。そんなことを言われたのは多分君が初めてだ。
Adorning his face was a smile wholly out of sync with his comment.
何よそれ。
She regretted stopping him. If only she just had watched him go, this conversation would have never happened. Sojiro Shizuki made his way down the slope street. Today, just like every day, he probably had to work late again. Only Aoko and Alice remained, with Alice doing what she could to simply blend in.
つくづくこっちのペースを乱してくれるわね。あのちんちく無害な田舎者は。
That a harmless hick. Aoko clenched her right fist tightly as she cursed out loud. Anything to prevent herself from screaming at the top of her lungs. Whether that scream would be directed toward Sojiro or toward herself was another matter entirely. Aoko heard Alice's soft voice behind her. Aoko knew what she was going to say, as she had known for the entire time. Ever since Alice, having showing no reaction to any of the other students, changed her expression upon seeing Sojiro.
言わなくてもいい。あいつでしょ、目撃者は。
The witness. Her voice was cold as ice. It was the voice of someone talking about a complete stranger. The lion and the kitten. There were pros and cons to choosing either of these animals, the point being that she had asked him to choose one of them. In terms of risk, the lion was the more dangerous choice. The instant the gun was pointed at it, there was a chance it would fight back. Those who chose the lion would require more courage, but any sense of guilt that came with holding a gun would be forgotten. Lions are fierce creatures, a poor excuse to shoot an animal perhaps, but one that certainly helped alleviate the guilt. But what about the kitten, the weaker creature? It goes without saying that the kitten would be the easier target of the two, but choosing it would be a disquieting decision for anyone. Even if the kitten had no chance to survive, it was still too senseless to carry out. And to Aoko, Sojiro was that choice.
てっきり私もそうだと思ってた。
When she had felt that sinking feeling in that student council room, she ignored it. There was no getting around what must be done, she told herself. Until that is, Sojiro went and said what he did, causing her resolve to waver. But the discomfort in her chest did not stem from any guilt she may have felt. She could care less for Sojiro. He was weak and would be incredibly easy to deal with. Yet for some reason, she could not dispel her reservations. A transfer student who moved to the city from the middle of nowhere, with no family to speak of. Few would notice if he were to suddenly disappear compared to a person of some renown. Yeah, like look at Tobimaru. If he would disappear, it would be a big deal. But yeah, Sojiro? Not that much. If she were to kill him, it would be simple as wringing a cat's neck. And it all served to just piss her off. It was too lucky, like everything was neatly handed to her. She wanted to just dropkick it right into orbit.
信じられない。私嫌がってる。これは違う。こんなの私じゃない。
Standing behind her, Alice heard all of the muttering. Nevertheless, she seemed ignored and said she seemed to. There's no to there.
彼、首に布を巻いていたわね。
He had something wrapped around his neck. A wholly unrelated topic. Aoko returned to her senses.
首？
ええ、水泳部の首とかけていたのかしら。
Alice had put much thought into this, as if it had a deeper meaning to her somehow.
そういえば、あいつ初めて会った時も首に布巻いてたっけ？襟を行儀よく締めてるから目立たないけど。
Yeah, he had never removed it. Even once. I guess like the bandages, right? The conversation turned to idle nonsense. And though it had solved none of her current problems, it did help calm Aoko's frazzled nerves.
サンキュー。落ち着いたわ、アリス。それと、気合も入った。善は急げ。あいつが言いふらす前に決着をつけよう。
Bumped once more, Aoko turned her back to the school gate. For now, they would retire to the mansion and prepare for battle. Prepare for the final battle. I really like the music. No, the piano music. Yeah.
いつどこで彼を殺すの？
Like this game has, I guess, one of the best calming music. So it's just so nice to listen to. She said quietly so as not to be overheard by anyone else. Normally Aoko had to rein in that side of Alice, but are out in the open as they were, but this was far more from a normal situation.
今日の夜、場所はとっておきの夢の国よ。
She gave a fearless laugh, a strangely pleasant sound like the kind one would make when meeting their lover. Oh, we finished. Okay. Third episode done. Did we get anything? So this is chapter 3, chapter 4. Wait, what? So, wait, this is what we did, right? Oh yeah, because it was a shorter chapter. Yeah, chapter 4 was a shorter one. Okay. Or chapter 3. I mean, this one was very short. Yeah, I forgot. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of obvious that, I guess, the witness from last time, yeah, it would have been Sojiro. Who else, right? Who else? And yeah, I guess it's not really getting intense, but I guess this story is kind of getting much more, let's say, serious now a little bit. Even though, yeah, we have like some scenes with Aoko, like silly scenes. It's just funny whenever I see her eyes like that and her face doing that. It's quite funny to me, because I enjoy a lot of like comedy, like slice of life animes, and they do that sometimes, and I enjoy it. So let's see what happens next time. So we're gonna continue this and do more of Witch on the Holy Night in the next one. So I'll just see you then, guys. Bye bye.